Now in its third year, it's a Yank on the Footy with Craig Wessels, talking about the greatest game on the face of the earth. Sit back and enjoy, everybody.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 184 of A Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, coming to you from Sandusky, Ohio, and thanks for giving this episode a listen. In this episode, I am going to be sharing with you a quick interview that I did about 10 days ago with a couple of gentlemen who were involved with a club that had a very interesting streak that they were involved in. I talked about them in a previous episode and was absolutely thrilled to be able to talk with them. Now, don't forget that if you are interested in having your local footy club get a shout out during an upcoming episode, be sure to drop me a note via email, yankonthefooty@gmail.com. You can shoot me a note on Messenger, on Facebook, or on Twitter, or through Instagram as well. I love being able to highlight the local clubs throughout the season. Today's club of the episode is being sponsored by MickAussie.tv, and MickAussie.tv is run by Kim Harrison, or as he's known here in North America, Mick Aussie. And I've had Mick on for the last few episodes to tip the upcoming games, and he'll be joining me in the next episode as well. Now, Mick has spent the last couple of decades running his sports comedy channel, talking about the AFL, the NFL, the Canadian Football League, as well as other sports. He also appears regularly on the Sports Grid TV channel with Gabe Morency. And today's club of the episode, I kind of took a little bit of a detour on this, and this was my prerogative here. I owe Bobby Brown a quarter for that one. But today's club of the episode are the VFLW premiers, the Essendon Bombers. And the Bombers won their premiership last weekend, defeating the Southern Saints 66-42 to 0-7-7. And Alana Barbo won the Lisa Hardiman Medal for being best of field. She had 18 disposals, 18 tackles, and 7 clearances. That sounds a little bit like something you might see coming out of Fremantle there. Now, like I said, while I generally end up highlighting local clubs, I wanted to congratulate Canadian footballer Kendra Heil and American footballer Danny Marshall, both members of the Essendon VFLW side. Now, I had both of these terrific ladies on the podcast in recent history. Danny was on back in episode 19 when I had just started out, and she was a member of the Bulldogs. She's now on the Bombers AFL list. And I had Kendra on in episode 129. So again, Danny was in episode 119 and Kendra in episode 129. And what was interesting is I actually had Danny's father join me in episode 160. And his name is Doug Herring. And we had a discussion about what it's like to have your child being a professional athlete playing a game that they love on the other side of the planet. Now, we have a lot of interesting things going on. The AFLW fixture was released. Some great efforts from some clubs this week. I'm not going to get into a full-blown review in this episode. I'm just going to be honest with you. I did not have the time that I typically have for that in order to get the work done on that, and I didn't want to do a poor job of putting one of those together. So I was very impressed by the efforts of both Essendon and St. Kilda last week. Did not tip either of those games to go that way. So good on you, Saints. Good on you, Bombers. I did tip Port Adelaide against Fremantle as well. That was a pretty close game. I think I got the Collingwood and Suns game wrong as well. And I'm going to tell you, the one other thing I wanted to touch on here, and I'll get back as to why I didn't do the review episode this week in a moment, but I have to tell you, the Suns are not my club of choice that I support. Okay, for those of you that do know, that do listen, I am a Geelong supporter, but I love engaging with supporters from all 18 clubs. But I would have to say, and I'm going to kind of throw Mick under the bus here. They kind of poked fun at Mick Aussie a couple of weeks ago on Gabe Morency's show about his having one CFL club as his favorite, then his second favorite, then third favorite. And they made him run through the entire league, which Mick took it in stride. But it was really funny, though. I just look at the Suns as, again, as the outsider looking in. And I know there are a lot of people who are still adamant about there not being an AFL club in the Gold Coast, in Queensland, that it, maybe that should be the club that makes the trek to Tasmania and does a name change or something of that nature. But I think for the health of the competition, it's a really good thing to see the Suns playing solid football, winning some close games, losing some very close games as well. They've lost a couple close ones here recently. I believe they have Richmond coming up this week at Metricon, so a huge opportunity there as well. No Dusty, no Nick Vlaston, who's suspended this week. But the thing that I was thrilled to see happening was that there's been speculation, and I speculated it here on this podcast, that, well, where is Alistair Clarkson going to be buying his new house along the Gold Coast? And I actually went on one of the realtor websites and found a beautiful home that was for sale on the Gold Coast. It was right on the water. Oh, it was only about $7 million. Now, I don't know if I have no clue if that's outside of Alistair Clarkson's price range or not. I don't know, but I certainly out of my price range. I guess I in many ways disrespected Stuart Dew by doing that. And Coach, damn thrilled to see that you got that contract extension, to see that your club is playing for you. I have said, and you can go back and find this in other episodes, I have said recently that I think that relationship that the Suns players are having with Stuart Dew is not that different from the relationship that much of the Brisbane list is having with Chris Fagan. Now, they've not had the same type of success yet, but I honestly think that, the Suns may not make finals this year. They've got to start rattling off some wins to start closing the gap a little bit and find themselves pushing their way up. But this is a club that is up and coming, and they may not be there this year, but I have a feeling that I will be finding a spot in the 8 when I do my predictions for the 2023 Cup. I have a feeling that I'll be putting the Suns in there. Now, I said 2 years ago, I said I was going to be putting Fremantle in the 8, and they finished outside of it. And this year, I think I put them at 13th. And where are they? They're in the top 4. So, certainly not an exact science. But I'm thrilled that Stuart Dew has that stability now. I don't think that that's going to impact his perseverance, his drive to be successful there. I don't think he's going to take a big exhale and go, okay, I got the extension. I can kind of take my foot off the accelerator right now. I have a feeling he's just going to continue doing what he's doing, and that club is going to continue to improve. And once those players that they've not had there this year, Ben King and the other players that they've lost to season-long injuries are back in the fold, like I said, I think this is going to be a very entertaining club to watch. And overall, I do think that's good for the comp, because the game has sunk so much cash into that organization for such a long period of time. Now, as I told you, I wasn't going to be doing a full review episode because it just there wasn't enough time this week. I've spent I only watched 5 of the games this weekend. I typically try to watch all 9 of them. I only got to 5 of them this weekend because I spent much of that time, as well as the first couple days of this week, out working in my garden, in my yard. Now, I have, for living in the city, I have a yard that is about 14 meters wide and almost 90 meters deep. So I have a big yard. And I don't always get to doing the yard cleanup and the weeding and that sort of thing early on. and I played a little bit of catch up this week as far as that goes. So I've been digging up weeds and spraying, weed killer on different types of weeds and potting new plants. I mean, I now have, I think I bought probably 15 new big pots to put on my patio and on the front steps of the entrance to my house. So I think I have now, with the ones that I still had, and again, these are plants that are annuals, ones that are only they're supposed to last for just a single season. But what I did last year is that once it started to get cool, I took all of those annuals, those plants that are only supposed to grow during the summer, then die off. I took all of them to my classroom. I think I took 14 pots to my classroom and had them on a table in the window. So they got sunshine, they got watered, they got the plant food during the course of the winter time here, which gets rather cold. And I lost one pot. So I think 13 of the 14 pots survived. So this year I've upped the game a little bit. Like I said, I think I have 40 pots right now. I have a couple tropical plants that I have out in front of my house right now that will definitely have to come inside when it starts to get chilly. So I spent the last few days working on trying to get my yard and my garden back into shape. So that's kind of where I was with that. So I don't have a regular review episode. I do have an interview that I did recently that I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode. But then also we had the 4th of July on Monday. And, well, for those of you that don't know, here in America, us Americans, as my history teacher in high school used to say, we used to be part of the United States of America, as he would call it. We like our fireworks and our firecrackers and those types of things. And a lot of places you can go watch the community do the fireworks, but a lot of other people will go out and buy their own fireworks and detonate them and set them off. And it's rather loud. And that started on the Sunday, the 3rd of July, because it was kind of not a work night, if you will, and carried over into Friday night, the 4th of July, and into the 5th. Now I have a 14-year-old Wheaton Terrier who is absolutely terrified of loud noises. I mean, if she could figure out how to crawl under the carpeting, she would do that. So I spent most of Sunday night and Monday night, when I could have been working on the podcast, after I'd worked in the garden, snuggling with my dog. The other dog doesn't seem, he gets scared of fast movements in front of him, but the sounds don't usually bother him. So I snuggled with my dog to try to keep her calm. She had her little doggy tranquilizer that was designed to help lower her heart rate and help to calm her down a little bit. Didn't really work. So she's 14, so she's kind of set in her ways. So that's what I was doing. I will have my review episode for you for next week. I just did not get to it this week. I have an interview that I'm hoping to do in the next few days. I have to reach out to this person. It's a previous guest who just finished up what looked to be a tremendous adventure, and I can't wait to talk to him. In fact, I know I have a message on Instagram that I need to get back to him about. But folks, remember, you can find everything related to the podcast over at my website at yankonthefooty.com. I hope you'll check it out. There are links at the top to all of my different socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I think LinkedIn is up there as well. You can leave me a voicemail there. You can share your views on an issue. If you are somebody who has a great story, or if you know somebody who's a former player who would be a great guest, please reach out. That's how I was able to talk with Sean Smith recently. That's I'm going to be sitting down with another veteran player from the Roos, Mr. Cheatley. I'm going to be talking with soon. He worked in their front office in the for the Roos back in the 1970s, and I'm fascinated to learn how he did things in the marketing department. So I'm really excited about what's going to happen with that discussion, which I'm hoping to do also very soon. So if you have a great story, or you know somebody who would be a great guest that you have contact or with, please, by all means, drop me a note. Send them a note as well. But also on my website, you can get signed up for the mailing list. So you can go ahead and get the new episodes sent out to you as soon as they get released. I've had a couple new people sign up over the last week, so they'll be getting this one as soon as it comes out. Now, folks, if you enjoy the show, I do hope you'll consider helping me out with my Buy Me a Coffee page. It's that little yellow button in the bottom left-hand corner of my website. If you go to Buy Me a Coffee, you can also find a Yank on the Footy there as well. That money goes right back into the podcast to help pay for the different fees and such to have the podcast out there. Also, if you're interested in any podcast gear, you can check out my Redbubble page, which is up at the top as well. Now, in about 13 hours, I will be sitting down with Mick Aussie to tip the games of round 17. Now, we're going to be doing that immediately after the Geelong and Melbourne game, and I hope I'm in a good mood. Let's just put it that way. I'll send him my tip on Twitter tonight, and he'll send me his tip for that game, so we'll have that one recorded, even though we won't be talking about it until after the fact. Now, about 10 days ago, I sat down with a couple members from a football club from South Australia, the Nangwarry Saints football club, and I featured them as one of the clubs of the episode about a month ago, and maybe it's about 3 weeks ago, I guess, but something like that. Because they had a rather interesting event that took place. This was a club that won a game. Now, I know that sounds, what's the big deal? They won a game. Well, they hadn't won a game since 2014. 104 games in a row they had lost. And I heard a couple of the players do a short radio interview. It was about a 4-minute radio interview, and it was absolutely hilarious. And I wanted to tap into that. So I reached out to the club on their Facebook page, and I spoke with the team president, Shane Ploenges. Wonderful gentleman. He helped set up a couple of his players, Joel Virtanen and Jake McKeon, to come on the podcast to talk. We were all set to do that. That was going to be happening at like 7 o'clock in the morning, my time, a week ago Saturday. So it's been about 11 or 12 days since I recorded this. Well, getting ready to sit down for this discussion. And as I learned more about this club, and it's only about a 15, 20-minute interview, but it's pretty interesting what has gone on with this club. Well, unfortunately, Jake was not able to make the discussion. Jake had injured his knee during the game that afternoon and was at the hospital. I had actually traded messages with him on Facebook Messenger to see how he was doing while he was at the hospital. He didn't have any results on anything yet, so Jake was not able to be part of the little interview. So this really upbeat, happy interview that I thought we were going to be doing turned a little bit more somber. But there were a lot of things that went on with this club as well that I thought were just really powerful, and I'm glad to share it with you. I'm going to clean up the audio as best I can. Again, we're 16,500 kilometers apart, and I will make it as clean as I possibly can for you. But big thanks to Joel and to Shane for taking time out of their Saturday evening. They were actually having a big club function at that time as well. So go ahead and sit back and relax and enjoy my my discussion with Joel and with Shane, and we'll go ahead and get into the tips for round 17 then with episode 185. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my guests are members of a local footy club from South Australia, and last weekend they had one of their most monumental wins in recent club history. Well, it was their most recent win in club history, and we're going to get into that, but it's something that just was a very interesting story, and I have the club president and one of the players from the Nangwarry Saints with me. And if you haven't heard this story before, I found out about it here in Ohio, 16,000 kilometers away. I would love to welcome Joel Virtanen and the club president, Shane Ploenges, to the podcast. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on this evening.
Hey, how you going?
Thanks. I appreciate it. Shane, thanks for putting this together. I reached out to the Facebook page the other day. I'd like to give a shout out to clubs, at the start of each episode. It's just, like I said, it's just a way for me to learn about the geography of footy at the local level around the country. And it just was a really, really neat story there. But for those of us who are in the United States, or for other people around the rest of Australia, where is Nangwarry compared to, in relationship to other places?
Yeah, so Nangwarry's about 400 kilometres south of Adelaide and 400 kilometres west of Melbourne. So basically equal distance from Adelaide and Melbourne, bottom of South Australia, near Mount Gambier.
Okay. And it's not a very big town. I looked at it on Google Earth. It's not a terribly big place, is it?
Nah, pretty small. 400 or 500 people tops.
400 or 500. Okay, even smaller than I thought then. Okay, so I reached out because last week you had something very unique happen. The club had a bit of a losing streak that was broken.
Yes.
And I am not here to poke fun at it at all. That's not what, but because you continually, pushed and battled to try to end this, but do you wear that win now as kind of a badge of honor for having persevered through all of this?
Yeah, I think so. Like, the boys have been working pretty hard, and finally get that win. It is a monumental thing for that group of boys.
Mm-hmm. Because, again, for those of you who may not have seen the story, it was a losing streak that was over 100 games since 2014. And, I don't know if either of you pay any attention to the NFL here in the United States, but I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. And for, Joel, for your entire lifetime, the Browns have been god awful. Okay. They've been terrible. So we had a spot a couple of years ago where they won, I think, 2 games out of 36 or 46 games. So I completely understand, where you guys are coming from. So how close did you come in some of the games? I mean, I listened to a little bit of a radio broadcast, and you and Jake McKeon, who Jake was going to join us today, but Jake is indisposed right now. He's somewhere else. And Jake, I hope you're getting good news, sir. I'll let you guys mention that if you choose to do so, but how close did you get to a win here in the last year or two?
Probably the last 2 years. Obviously, we were still losing by over 100 points. And then this year it's been a lot better year. We've had 3 or 4 games where we've only lost by a few goals.
Okay.
And then now we finally got that win.
All right. So it's does it feel good to get that monkey off your back?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're not thinking about that anymore. You're just going out to play footy, knowing that we finally got that win, and just a lot more. All the pressure just off the shoulders.
So, how long have you been, Joel, part of this club? Has this been a club that you are you born and raised in this community? So you've been part of this club forever?
Yeah, I've been here my whole life. My family's pretty heavily involved in this club, and so I played under 14s, under 17s, and now seniors. Yeah.
Okay, so when you were at your younger levels, were you having a little bit more success than the senior level had, and it's just putting some things together?
14s and 17s we were winning a few games. Yeah, we definitely weren't losing as much. We've had a bit of success here, but the first senior win last weekend.
Okay, and with this being Shane, with this being such a small community, it almost seems like that that this club is kind of the hub in terms of what the whole community revolves around, that this club kind of just, is the thing that brings this community together.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why we've been fighting to keep on going, because, it's not all about winning, although winning's pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a place where, the community can meet and, mix in with each other. So it's important that we did keep the dream going.
Okay. So are all of the athletes on your list, are they all from the community, or have people come in? Because I know that in some of the other clubs that I've talked about at like the senior levels, people have come in from other areas to play on that club.
Yeah, no, we rely on players from around the community to come in and help us out. Otherwise, small clubs just haven't got people around anymore.
Okay, yeah, because and I've heard that's an issue. Is that it's been a struggle for small clubs to survive, and that some of them have actually combined and joined forces with other clubs.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so you did frustration ever set in, Joel? Did you ever get to the point where you were just like, okay, I don't know this, are we ever going to win one here? I'm just, is it too late for me to, to take up, a different activity? Or did you just, just dig your heels in and say, damn it, we're going to get a win here. We're going to put a couple wins together.
Yeah, frustration definitely sets in when you're out there playing and things aren't going your way. But yeah, you always have that positive mindset that, you're going to win that game. And yeah, that's what we'll start with this year. And we've built on that over the last 6 or 7 weeks. And yeah, it's paid off. Okay.
Now, did you guys have a game today?
Yeah, we did. Yes, we played today.
And may I ask, do we have a winning streak?
Back to reality today. We played the top team.
Okay.
They won pretty comfortably today. They won. Yeah.
Okay, so the other clubs that are in your league, are they coming from much larger communities than yours?
Nah, I think we're a pretty small town league.
Okay.
It was probably there may be one big town in Roe, but yeah, everyone else is very, very small. Okay. Some smaller than others.
So as this streak was going on, and as you said, you saw it happening as you were going up through the juniors and the 14Us and that sort of thing. Did you the senior players that were there, was there any kind of a fun ritual or superstition that they had, that they tried to break the curse of the losing streak or anything like that? Was there anything that was done kind of, even from a humorous standpoint, to just try to lessen the tension of not having won a game?
Yeah, there's been past players that have obviously come in and out of the club. And obviously, the people that we've brought in the last couple of years all wanted that same thing, as that's to get that win. And that's what's really made us get it, I reckon. Everyone's on board and no passengers. Okay.
So I would imagine that you have to be a very close-knit group, because you're going through some really tough times. It's easy to, I think it's easy, to be a club that's being very successful and we're going to get along great. But if you're scuffling, if you're having a difficult time, you have to be willing to work together to try to overcome that. So getting that first win was a really good, was a good step there for you. So, let me ask you this question. And after the game last week, did you have to pass out the lyric sheet for the song?
No, we did have it. We had it written out in one of our group chats, so people were trying to remember it. But yeah, we did a good job. I think we did all right.
Okay. Did you get that? Did you get that on film? So it's so you have it and you're able to say, okay, see, we did all say this. Okay.
Yeah, and plenty of videos.
Okay, so you had a rather sad thing happen to the club a couple of years ago, but you've risen from that, and the facilities for your club were destroyed in a fire, and from what I read online, that it was actually an arson fire. Did they ever catch the person that did this?
Unfortunately not, but yeah. So we haven't had a home base basically for nearly 3 years, so up and running. So
it's been, but this has to again been something that brought this community to even further or closer together. You know, even though you
I think so.
Yeah, even though you had this
galvanized everybody.
Yeah, even though you had this focal point, this place that you could gather, and I did see in the article that a lot the memorabilia from the club was lost, and that's terribly sad. I'm sorry that happened. But now that the new facility is up and running, is it better than ever? I mean, are you happy with what you have in place now?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, much better, a lot more modern, more functional. So, yeah, we've got a show on tonight, so people are just starting to rock up now to get the noise out there.
Okay, because I have to admit, Joel is the best dressed guest I have ever had on the podcast. There, I've never. Yeah.
Never win that tonight.
Yeah, say that one more time.
You're the prize tonight.
Okay, well, I'm sitting here in shorts with no socks on right now, so when we wrap up here, I have to head over to my mom's house and help her move some furniture around. So I'm dreading that a little bit. So, Joel, who do you support in the AFL? What's your club?
Port Adelaide,
okay.
Australian team.
Okay, alrighty. So, and who do you look to as your the player that you are the most fond of on that club?
I'd like to, a bit of like Dan Houston, who play. I like to play off a half back, pretty attacking footy.
Okay.
And a little bit in the midfield. So yeah, if I was to compare, a little bit around Dan Houston.
So do you play in defense with the Saints?
I have played a little bit in defense, half back.
Okay.
And also a little bit in the midfield. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's a great story that the club got the win. I'm thrilled that has happened for you, and you've got another 6 or 8 games before this year wraps up for you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you're able to notch another win or two this year at least, and have some positive steps going into next year. Now, Joel, how long will you continue to play on the senior side, or what's your next step with regards to footy or your education, that type of thing?
Well, I've currently got an apprenticeship down here at home, so I'll be around home for the next couple of years still, and then after that, I haven't really looked too far ahead. But it would be good to go to that next step, play at a higher level. So that would definitely something I'll be thinking about.
Okay. What's your apprenticeship in, if I may ask?
Plumbing.
Okay. That's a great field. I mean, there's something that here in the United States, we tend to not do a real good job at encouraging people to learn trades. I've been a school teacher for 28 years, and a lot of what happens here is, you have to go to a 4-year university, you have to go to college, that sort of thing. And we've become a society that doesn't know how to fix things. I don't know if that's the case in Australia, but it certainly is here, unfortunately. So
it has been a bit similar here, but I'm trying to change it a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I teach high school. So, I mean, it's not my place to tell a student what they need to do, but I do tell them that, that they should, weigh all of their options and explore everything, have discussions with your parents. Of course, they're the ultimate people who should be talking with you about this sort of thing, but, give yourself, a fair shake at what your future could behold. So how did the supporters the game that you won last week, was that a home game?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And how did the community react? Because I guess, with it being that size of a community, as you said, it's kind of the hub of the community. Were they over the moon?
Yeah, they were pretty ecstatic. There was some, everyone raced out on the field and lots of tears and hugs and carry on.
Okay. Probably a fewer people than when Buddy kicked his 1,000th goal, though, right?
Yeah, just a few.
Okay. Well, hey, gentlemen, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad that you got the win. I love being able to share the story. Where can people who listen to the podcast follow your club? I know I found you on Facebook, but I wasn't sure if you were on any other social media at all.
Basically, Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will put the link for the club in the show notes if you want to give them a follow. And this was a fun chat. I do appreciate you taking time out of your evening. Joel, I do hope that you win the Best Dressed award. And Jake, when you do listen to this, young man, I hope everything goes well for you, sir. And have a great evening, gentlemen. My guests have been Shane Ploenges and Joel Virtanen from the Saints. And gentlemen, thanks for coming on today.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Enjoy your night.
You bet.
Or day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, and a big thanks to Joel and Shane for taking time out of their Saturdays. Jake, I hope you're doing all right, sir. I hope you got good news. I will reach out to you and check in to see how things are going with you. Now, folks, don't forget that you can reach me by email to yankonthefooty@gmail.com, as well as on Twitter at yank_on, or on Facebook. Just look for a Yank on the Footy podcast and a Yank on the Footy on Instagram. Now, many of you have signed up on the mailing list. I do appreciate that over on my website at yankonthefooty.com. I humbly ask you to consider sharing this episode or your favorite episode with your footy-loving friends or family. It's a huge help. If you enjoy the show over on my website, you can also leave a review over there. There's a review button on there. It'll take you out to Apple Podcasts, or you can leave a review right there on the website. And it's a great way to help get a little bit more attention to the show, because it's a one-man operation here. Folks, again, I want to thank you for all of the kind words. We love our clubs. It's getting to be crunch time. The men's comp is heating up. The women's comp is gearing up for a big 2022. I'm looking forward to that as well. And again, I do hope you'll consider sharing a link with the show with your friends and family. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. Now, this has been episode 184 of A Yank on the Footy. Don't forget that you can reach me at yank_ on Twitter, or to yankonthefooty@gmail.com, and you can find me on Instagram. Search for Yank on the Footy, or on Facebook at a Yank on the Footy podcast. I hope you'll head over to the website at yankonthefooty.com and get subscribed and give it a share. Tell your friends about it. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Craig Wessels, and goodbye. Now, one last thing before I wrap up. The furniture moving gig that I mentioned earlier in the episode was actually very easy. It was a piece of cake. Love you, Mom.